Hello everyone, this is Brijesh Kumar. Today I am going to teach you a poem called The Solitary Reaper. This poem has been written by William Wordsworth in the year 1805. My dear students, before I begin, I would like to tell you how this era started and some certain salient features of the Romantic poetry. Romantic era started with the publication of the lyrical ballads in the year 1798. Lyrical Ballads is an anthology of poems. In this anthology, there are 23 poems, out of which 19 have been written by William Wordsworth and 4 have been written by his friend Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Both of them they wrote poems in a very different manner, which almost shocked the readers, critics, as well as writers too. And they started interrogating why both of them had written poems in a totally different manner. And in response to these questions, William Wordsworth published a preface which he attached with his lyrical ballads and published in the year 1800 for the first time. And here he has validated his theory of poetry and how poetry should be composed, what are the principal elements of poetry, about whom poetry should be written, what type of language should be used. All these questions he very clearly answered, he very clearly explained in his preface to Lyrical Ballads. After knowing how this era began, let us have a look of some of the salient features of the Romantic poetry. And the very first one is return to nature. This was the time when many writers started writing about nature and the people who are found in nature, especially the common man and the common folk. Because poetry written before this era was totally concentrated on the people who were living in the cities and who were belonging to the upper strata of society, as well as who spoke standard language. But here common language has been used. Common folk were the subject matters of the poems of different writers, and even some of the theorists, some of the very prominent philosophers also started advocating for returning to nature. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was one of them. The next feature is focus on human emotions and flight of imagination. This was the era when people started writing about their emotions, about their feelings, and they started extending their imagination to those labels which in the previous eras were totally unthought of. The next feature is subjectivity, self expression, individual feelings. Here you would find that most of the poets they were very much subjective in their writings. They wrote about what they felt, they wrote about their experiences, their individual feelings, rather than the society, rather than the political matters. They wrote about their own personal affairs. The next salient features of the Romantic poetry is democracy in literature. This was the time when democratic values were given special weightage, not in the field of literature but in other fields like in the field of politics, in the field of society, in the field of sociology. Everywhere you'd find, because of the French Revolution that already had taken place in the year 1789. Dear students, this was the time when you would find, as I already have told you, that the common life, common poetic diction, common content and common language were in the center of the poetry writing. After this, the next feature is the supernatural elements in the writings. Some of the writers they started inserting supernatural machineries in their poems, which are not found frequently in the poems of the previous era. After this, the next feature is the focus on individuality. That already I have told you how subjectivity has come in the center of the poetry of the Romantic era. And instead of society, many of the poems they focused on individual feelings, individual thinking, individual expressions, etc. After having a look of some of the salient features of the Romantic poetry, now the time has come to know a little information about the poem too. The poem The Solitary Reaper is one of the most famous post-lyrical ballads lyrics of William Wordsworth. My dear students, you need to note this point too, that it is sometimes considered as a ballad too because it has some balladic features. The second information is this, that it was written in 1805 and published in 1807 in the collection of poems known as Poems in Two Volumes. Now the time has come to read the poem in between lines. And the very first stanza is here on the screen. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. Or listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. My dear students, you see in the very first line how he addresses the readers, saying, Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself, stop here or gently pass. Behold her, he says that look at her, she is single in the field, yon solitary highland lass. This girl from the mountain, she is alone, she is single in the field, she is reaping and singing at the same time. And requests to the readers whether they want to stand there, they can, or if they do not, they can gently pass from there. Alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. O listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. He says that she is alone, she is reaping the crops, she is making the bundle of those crops, she is singing a very melancholic song, very sad song, and he requests to the readers that they must pay attention to this song because the sound of her song is echoing throughout the valley and it could be heard from anywhere. The voice is so melodious that the poet could not avoid it. Before moving to the next stanza, now let us have a look on the rhyming style and other poetic features of this particular stanza. In the very first line, you would find how he addresses to the reader. So here, a kind of figure of speech has been used that is known as apostrophe, because he addresses the reader saying, "Behold her, single in the field," and at the same time, you would find another figure of speech that is caesura. What is caesura? Caesura is a kind of pause either in the middle of the line or in the initial stage of the line or in the terminal stage of line. So here you would find how the poet has very beautifully used the figure of speech caesura in the very first line when he says behold her. Then there is a pause and then he starts telling single in the field. So you can well understand how the figure of speech caesura is usually used in a poetic line. Thereafter, what is very important to be focused here is the high class imagery, because in whole of the passage the poet pressurizes the readers to visualize this image, although there is no highland lass in front of the physical eyes of the readers, but still he pressurizes the readers with the help of his beautiful lines to think about such a girl who is reaping, who is singing, who is making the bundles of the crops. Now moving to the next stanza. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some saddy hunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Dear students, here you'd find how he very beautifully makes some analogies between the songs of nightingale as well as the voice or the chirping sound of the cuckoo bird with the sound of the song of this girl, Highland Lass. He says, no nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some saddy haunt among Arabian sands. No nightingale, he says, nightingale usually sings or chirps very melodiously, and it usually gives a feeling of respite to those tired travellers who are coming from far away. And here the description is of the Arabian sands, especially of the Middle East. Those people who are coming from the Middle East and those who are very tired and taking respite in the shade of a tree, they get a kind of feeling of soothing when they hear the sound of the nightingale. I mean, the chirping sound of the nightingale. But the poet says that the sound of the song of this Highland lass is much more melodious than the sound of the nightingale. Further, he says that a voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. A voice so thrilling, he says that the voice of the cuckoo bird is very thrilling. When it makes the thrilling sound, it echoes, it breaks the silence of the seas and reaches to the faraway mountainous areas of the Hebrides. Hebrides is a range of mountains, and the voice of the cuckoo bird reaches to the farthest mountain of this range of mountains known as Hebrides. And it is also very lovely. But the poet says that the sound of the Highland lass, the sound of the song of the Highland lass is much more thrilling, much more sweet than the sound of the cuckoo bird. Here the writer has used two symbols in the form of the nightingale bird and the cuckoo bird. And he creates a wonderful comparison between the voices of these birds and the sound of the song of the Highland lass. Now moving to the next stanza. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the planetive numbers flow for old unhappy far off things and battles long ago, or is it some more humbly familiar matter of today? Some natural sorrow, loss or pain that has been and may be again. Here the poet wants to know what exactly she is singing, what is the meaning of her song, because she is singing in Scottish language, which the poet does not understand, because the poet is of England and in England English is spoken. Therefore, he is just guessing what matters she is exactly singing of. He says, will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the planetive numbers flow. He says that there is no one who could tell him what she is singing. Then he starts guessing. He says that she is singing some sad songs, maybe perhaps some old story, old event which might have been very unhappy, or she may be singing of some far off things which already had happened in the past, or maybe about some battle which had taken place long ago, or she may be talking, she may be singing about some matter of day to day, or some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that might have been and that may be again. So she may be singing of anything which the poet here is guessing, because there is no one there who could make him understand what exactly she is singing about, what is the meaning of her strains, her lines, musical lines. So the poet is very much confused. Still, he is able to comprehend the not the exact meaning of the lines, but the feelings and emotions which are there in those lines. And this he guesses because of the melody, because of the sweetness, because of the humbleness, and because of the tone in tune of the music. And he also requests to the readers to visualize, to feel the depth of the music, the depth of the song of this Highland lass. Now moving to the next stanza, the poet says, whatever the theme, the maiden sang, as if her song could have no ending. He says that whatever may be the theme of the song that the Highland lass is singing, it seems to him that there is no ending of the song. The way the Highland lass is singing seems to be indefinite in itself. Further, he says, I saw her singing at her work and over the sickle bending. Now he starts using past tense. That signifies that he once in his life had seen this girl working, singing, bending, doing everything in the field. And now he is recollecting those memories when he wrote the poem. He says, I saw her singing at her work and over the sickle bending. He says that when he saw that girl singing, at that time she was bending and reaping the crop, making the bundles of the crop with the help of her sickle. And he says when he was passing by that way, he listened to the song of this girl. He was motionless, he was still, and he still bore the music in his heart. Although a long time has passed since he for the first time listened the song of this Highland lass. My dear students, here the poem ends, and I hope you guys would enjoy the poem and like it. Thank you.